Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Southdown Garage. My name is Kurt, and this week is a big week for the channel and for the Explorer. We may have something coming out the pipeline for you, and that's the start of this video series. Yes, we have a dyno day coming up next weekend, but we want to focus on making the Explorer better. To be clear, I'm adding some performance parts to this vehicle. They should not add any value to dyno runs, and by what I mean is the things I am doing should not affect if it is better or worse on the dyno. So I hope you understand that that is not going to change these dyno numbers, and I do not want to change the dyno numbers or affect them in any way. However, when you have opportunity knocking, you just got to open that door. So follow along with us today as we change over the charge pipes and the high pressure fuel pump on this Ford Explorer to a used setup that we are getting from a friend. Stay tuned. We're taking the charge pipes off. One thing I want to do right now is disconnect the battery, and it's not because we're doing the charge pipes, but that's also a good idea because we're going to be disconnecting the blow-off valve and a few other things. But here is what we're looking at. So here is your charge pipes. See where the glove is? So we undid this clamp here, took that off. We undid this clamp here from the lower charge pipe, which goes through and around and out the other side there, took that off. We undid this end here. We undid, I'll show you when I pull that out, but there's a bolt down there you got to undo. And then we've undid this section of the charge piping. So there's your fuel pump right here. Now there usually is two bolts. So you have this one here, there's one on the other side. There's usually a plate over top of all this, so these will have nuts on it, so it's really fun to get to. There's one in behind here that you need to put in. Now, yes, this is the factory pump. They're 13 mil bolts. This is like a 17 mil right here. Fuel line that's right there is a 17 mil, and then you have that the other one back here. You need that special fitting to uncompress the coupler. That's really fun to get off. Usually you have this plate over top, and you can't remove the plate until this fuel pump is unbolted, and then you can disconnect this connector here and all is well. I don't follow instructions very well, so I did all this. I pulled this pump out. I've got all the bolts in a bag because I'm giving this back to the owner. Nice. The other ST. Everything is a chore with me. Did you know that? Everything I do is a gift. My fingers smell like fuel. I'm getting ready for bed, so this is even better. I think I don't need to worry about this till tomorrow and make it tomorrow Kurt's problem. I have everything I need, I'm pretty sure. I've got that line off. That line, let's be real. That line that guy showed to pop off there, I literally had to pull the pump mostly out and then wiggle with this thing on there to get that inner line off. Let's not dump that down any holes, shall we? That's sort of what we've had to deal with today. Now, I've got that fuel pump out. What I'm going to need to do is go pick up that stuff from my dear friend. I'm going to need those spacers in the back there, or none of this is going to work. And we're going to lose the farm! I better do my employee safety report because I just about fell. Now that we have everything out, we have the charge pipes out, we have the fuel pump out. That's a good place for my gun. We're going to go to where my buddy is, and we're going to take off his charge pipes. Hopefully they're already off. I hope there's no more surprises. I really don't want to put an intake on this thing. All right, so we're back. in the shop. It was like 10 seconds for you. It was 4 days for me. We have some charge pipes, some filters. We've got some cool bits. We have our high pressure pump. Yeah. Xtreme DI. We have this ready to go. So what we have to do is we have to drop it, y'all, right down in there. I've got this ready to drop in, so you have to clock this so that you make sure you get them bolts in, and you make sure that O-ring sits in the bottom here, and you make sure to drop this down as one solid unit. And we're going to tighten these bolts, go in here, so they're the bigger ones, and these skinnier ones mount this to the plate. But we first have to install it, put the bolts in, and then we can clock everything after the fact. And then once that's done and everything is tidied up there, we can secure these fuel pipes back in, and then I can start getting to work on the charge pipes, which should be fun because here's the thing. Our charge pipes, but we have the factory intake, and I don't know if any of you have done that, but I can tell you from my experience, that's extremely bad idea. But I'm a sucker for punishment because I still have to do testing, and I don't want to do testing with intake. I will show you as we're going along so you guys can see some of the fun stuff that we're dealing with. One of the hardest things, obviously, is going to be the charge pipe behind here. So that's not your charge pipe. Way in back there is. So it's fun to get down there. Lessons learned, if you guys are doing this yourself, don't take that rubber boot off on the passenger side. It is not worth it. So now I get to fight that back in there, tighten it down, and then I can go ahead and start plumbing this piping in. Another night has passed, another morning has come. Funny story, this system was built on another Explorer. It did come with full intake, everything else. None of the stock airbox stuff was put back in. That little Y pipe that comes on my stock system, I had to reuse here. I've disconnected the ECU. Of course, I still have my battery disconnected because I don't want to be a psycho and disconnect a transmission computer with everything hooked up. I've got the connector back there. You can see it. Yep, point it out for you because you're going to be like, what are you talking about? This one right here. This is that's for the charge pipe. It was really fun to get off. I took all the hoses off so that I could get them over to the shop so they could put it onto his Explorer. And then we found out some of these stuff was like reused on the kit. Normally this would have taken the evening and I would have had it back together that same night I started. But one thing you have to understand about life is nothing works out. And it's not that I'm slow at my job or whatever. Maybe I am, I don't care. But sometimes things come up, like we're supposed to pick this stuff up on Monday. There was a little issue, then it had to go to a shop. So I had to wait another 2 days. I went to the shop, I went and picked everything up, and I was dealing with multiple people at the shop, and the person that took everything apart wasn't the person that gave me the part, so I took everything home. I tried to put it on, got the fuel pump in, got the hoses hooked up. Didn't do it the night I picked them up, so I probably should have. And then I would have been further along than I am now, but whatever. It's Saturday morning. I got to go to the dyno today. We're going to test the system with the stock airbox first, and then we're going to test the system with the aftermarket intake because I'm curious to see, and I want you guys to tell me, is this thing going to make more power? I don't think so. I know you're going to say, oh, you could tune it, it'll make more power. But these vehicles and vehicles like this that are based and driven for performance, if you're taking stock airbox out, certain components I would agree with. Like, potentially charge pipes aren't going to make any more power. I really work hard to make sure that the information I provide you is accurate and factual, because I found out with testing my Volkswagen how useless intakes are. So I'm curious to see what this does on the Ford Explorer. Let's get back to this. I've got the stock pipe to go down in there to connect to that other end of the Y here, and then we can hook that up, and then I've got to hook back up the air box, put everything like that back in. And then the other thing that I'm really nervous about is that the factory blow-off valve is not connected to anything. I do have a blow-off valve if I need to connect to it. So you're never going to know until you plug it in. And I've seen a lot of people do intake systems and then complain, oh, I have a cold air intake, like, has anybody else got a check engine light? So there are certain things that you're going to have to do. Okay, so for one, I don't know what this is going to do yet, so we're going to test that. Secondly, in the back of the air box, if you're not going with a reputable company, you're going to have to take that sensor out and you're going to strap it to your intake somehow. If there's a spot for it to go into your intake, that would be ideal, obviously. But this system I have doesn't. And I asked, hey man, well, like, what did you do? I asked him so many questions. We were back and forth and this and that, and it was quite a stressful week, all that fun stuff. So the other thing you're going to do, that's the connector. So this is your line that you're going to tee into for your blow-off valve. So I've got to cut that and then tee into it, and then we can run the hose for the blow-off valve. So I wanted to do as much as I could before Lordco opens, because I basically want to get this thing running. I want to take it for a little bit of a drive, maybe go to the car wash, and then come back, and if there's any other things I need to do, I can quickly run it over Lordco. Then I'm going to flash the ECU with the Ford Performance Tune. Oh, there's so much stuff to do. So before you bolt everything back in, one thing you want to make sure of is if you're using, like I am, the stock airbox where everyone's going to go, nah, that's garbage. You want to make sure you wrote the piping right, because before I had the piping going over top, and then I did it properly. And what a difference. What I have to do next is I have to put a plug in this hose. I was going to plug it off at the other end, but I can't. So I'm just going to plug it off at this end and hope for the best. Got that fitting in. Oh, that is mean. That's mean. That is dash 16 JIC plug we've put in there for the meantime for our testing, because we're going to take this all out and we're going to put the other system in. But let's first put this airbox back in, hook everything up, and then I can finish running the line for the blow-off valve and tee that in. That's all done. So now we can go ahead and plug all this airbox goodness back in, and we can make sure everything is tight. The only thing that's loose right now is this one here. Everything else is tight. This should be really fun to get this out later when we're gonna test the intake. That's really gonna be fun. So just in case you're wondering, we're gonna turn the ignition on. Going to check and see what those engine codes are, because we do have a check engine light down there. So we're just gonna plug and find out what's going on, and then I can show you guys whether or not you need to plug in a resistor, which I think you do, or we need to hook back in the factory blow-off valve and tie it off for now. We'll see. Let's go to diagnostics. Let's go to read DTS codes. We have two. Okay, see that high circuit means it's not good. Oh, I forgot to plug the intake air temp sensor. Okay, I'll plug that one back in, and then we will plug this in and then we can clear these codes. All right, so we're back at the screen. We're gonna go back, don't start, I know. We're going to go back to stock. So we first have to return to stock. Okay. All right, now we have to wait for it to do its thing. So basically it just shuts everything down, everything goes off, and we're sending the file to the car. And until that's done, that's all that's happening. I forgot to do up one of these couplers here, so it was having a bit of a boost leak. Here's the turbo blow-off valve. It's tied up out of the way, so that code won't come back. And then I just got to put this clamp back on down here so I don't get any boost leaks. And that will be pretty much the extent of it. Well, nothing went to plan. Sometimes things happen. There's nothing you can do about it other than moving forward. And that's what we had to do. What we're doing, and I'm going to tell you now because it's so exciting, is we're going to take this vehicle and we're going to make it something great. And we're going to go after a Dodge Durango Hellcat. Right now, the vehicle's fairly stock. Charge pipes, fuel pump, that's not going to really do anything. There's no point going to the dyno and showing you guys that stuff. That's just money I don't have. Over the next little bit, we're going to be getting some parts to put into this Explorer to make this thing really, really quick. But we're going to do it in stages as best as possible. We're going to put in, over the next few videos, we're going to put in some intake, we're going to put in exhaust, and one more thing, and I'm not going to tell you quite yet what it is. And then we're going to go visit this company that everybody in the Explorer community seems to love to get them to unleash the beast. I hope this video was enjoyable. If you like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more Explorer content, because we have a lot coming out to you in the next little while. Let us know in the comments how we did. If there's something you really want to see, make sure you let me know. I hope you're having a wonderful day, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you in another episode of South Down Garage. Bye for now.